Hello everybody and welcome back to DHK. Today we are going to dig deeper into the German grammar. The title of this lesson is accusative. We will shortly see what it means and when it is used. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to create and understand sentences of a significantly higher level of grammar. This lesson also marks the beginning of a new phase of the German A1 level. The first 8 lessons can be considered to be the first phase, which included the German alphabet, numbers, basic vocabulary, simple verbs and their conjugation, basic sentences and their structure, along with the listening, reading and writing modules based on these lessons. The phase 2 will be a step up of the L5, sentence structure, and will enable you to create more complex sentences with much more meaning and clarity. We will also have reading, listening, writing modules for phase 2 after enough grammar has been covered. Now, without wasting any more time, let's start with today's lesson. As usual, let us first learn some new German words. Das Buch, meaning book. Das Hemd, meaning shirt. Der Computer obviously means computer. Der Apfel, meaning apple. Die Lampe, meaning lamp. Der Lehrer, meaning a male teacher. Die Lehrerin, meaning a female teacher. The keyword for this lesson is Lehrerin. Now we also have some verbs. Kaufen means to buy. Ich kaufe. Du kaufst. Sie kauft. Wir kaufen. Ihr kauft. Sie kaufen. Verkaufen means to sell. Ich verkaufe. Du verkaufst. Sie verkauft. Wir verkaufen. Ihr verkauft. Sie verkaufen. Essen means to eat. Ich esse. Du isst. Sie isst. Wir essen. Ihr esst. Sie essen. Korrigieren means to correct or to rectify. Ich korrigiere. Du korrigierst. Sie korrigiert. Wir korrigieren. Ihr korrigiert. Sie korrigieren. In L5 sentence structure, we saw that a basic sentence is made up of 3 main parts: the subject, the verb, and everything else was referred to as the complements. Complements can be of different types, such as nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, and so on. And in L5, you only learned how to use predicate adjectives, adverbs, proper nouns, and uncountable nouns as complements. If you feel like you have forgotten what adverbs and predicate adjectives mean, please watch or revise L5 once again and then come back to this lesson. Today we are going to see how to use personal pronouns and common nouns as complements, more specifically as the direct objects. The direct object of a sentence is the noun or the pronoun that is directly linked to the verb of the sentence. For example, I sing songs. Here, the word songs is the direct object of the sentence. I am eating an apple. Here, an apple is the direct object. I played guitar with my band. Here, the guitar is the direct object of the sentence. Mark studies history every day. Here, history is the direct object. Tom likes Anna a lot. In this case, Anna is the direct object. She likes him too. Here, him is the direct object. She is giving him the notebooks. Here, the notebooks is the direct object. You would ask why the direct object in this case is the notebooks and why is it not him? Well, the direct object is not necessarily always next to the verb. It can be anywhere in the sentence, but you need to be able to identify it by asking yourself the right questions. The sentence, "She is giving him the notebooks," actually means that she is giving the notebooks to him, right? Let us consider Anna and Tom as the girl and the boy in this case. So if Anna gives the notebooks to Tom, then the notebooks is the direct object since the verb to give is directly linked to the notebooks and is indirectly linked to Tom, who will then be receiving the book. Think of it as the priority in which you would want to know about Anna giving something to someone. The something that is being given would itself be the direct object with the verb to give. The someone or something that will be receiving what is being given would be the indirect object with the verb to give. So hypothetically, if Anna was giving Tom to another person called Martin, in that case Tom would have been the direct object and Martin would be the indirect object. Hope that is a clear explanation on how to identify direct objects in a sentence and how they are different from indirect objects. We will be covering indirect objects in a future lesson. Today, we will cover only direct objects. Here are 5 sentences we have come across over and over again in our previous lessons. Ich spiele Fußball. Here, Fußball is the direct object. Liebt Deutschland. Here, Deutschland is the direct object. Wir spielen sehr gut Volleyball. Here, volleyball is the direct object. Sie studieren Mathematik. Here, Mathematik is the direct object. Du bist jung. In this sentence, there is no direct object, since there is no noun or pronoun directly linked to the verb. Jung is also a complement, but it is not a direct object, it is a predicate adjective. The color coding on your screen helps you to understand that I have used only uncountable nouns, proper nouns, adverbs, and predicate adjectives here. To be able to use common nouns and personal pronouns as direct objects in a sentence, we need to know something called the accusative case. Let us first try to understand how the accusative case is used in English, which will help you to know why we need the accusative case at all. The words in blue are the subjects of the sentences, and the words in black are the direct objects of the sentences. On the left, our focus is how we are using the blue words as the subjects of the sentences. And on the right, we use the blue word from the left but as a direct object and we write it in black to differentiate it. When we use the pronoun she as the subject, we say something like, "She likes me." But when she is the direct object in a sentence, we use the word her. For example, one would say, "I like her," and not "I like she." So the pronoun is she when it is the subject of the sentence and her when it is the direct object of the sentence. To differentiate between the subject and the direct object, we have something called cases. The form that the subject of the sentence always takes is called the nominative case. The form that the direct object of the sentence takes is called the accusative case. And that's it. It is that simple. So similarly, he calls me uses the nominative case he, and I call him uses the accusative case him. I am young takes the nominative form I, and he pushed me takes the accusative form me. You tell him takes the nominative form you. He tells you takes the accusative form you. Some pronouns are the same in both the nominative case and the accusative case. The pronoun you, for example, is the same in both cases. Germany is beautiful, and I love Germany. In the first sentence, Germany is the subject, and in the second, it is the direct object, but it stays the same because it is a proper noun. The story is very long. I am telling the story to him. In the first sentence, the story is the subject, and in the second, it is the direct object. In English, along with proper nouns, even common nouns are the same in both cases, the nominative and the accusative. Football is a sport, and I play football have the same nominative and accusative case, football. Note that the sport football is an uncountable noun. In a nutshell, the subject of a sentence will always take the nominative case, and the direct object of the sentence will always take the accusative case. As a conclusion, we can say that in English, proper nouns, common nouns, and uncountable nouns stay the same in both the nominative and the accusative cases. In German, on the other hand, only proper nouns and uncountable nouns are the same for both the cases. Common nouns and personal pronouns do not stay the same. The nominative case is called der Nominativ in German. The personal pronouns and the articles that we covered in L3 are actually the nominative case. So ich, du, es, sie, wir, ihr, sie, and capital Z are the nominative personal pronouns. Der, die, das, and ein, eine, ein are the nominative, definite, and indefinite articles for masculine, feminine, and neutral nouns. Die is the nominative, definite article for plural nouns. And as we already know, there is no indefinite article for a plural noun, just like in English. This is the nominative case and is to be used only as the subject of a sentence. Coming to the accusative case, which is called der Akkusativ in German, the accusative personal pronouns are as follows. Ich becomes mich, du becomes dich, becomes ihn, es remains es, sie remains sie, wir becomes uns, ihr becomes euch, sie remains sie, and finally capital Z also remains as capital Z. The only nominative personal pronouns that change in the accusative case are ich, du, wir, and ihr. Mich means me. Dich still means you, but as a direct object of the sentence. Ihn means him. Uns means us. Euch still means you all, but as the direct object of the sentence. Now coming to the articles, in the accusative case, the masculine definite article der becomes den. The masculine indefinite article ein becomes einen. The feminine neutral and plural articles, that is die, das, die, eine, and ein, stay the same in the accusative case as well. Only the masculine articles der and ein become den and einen in the accusative case. We have a few examples here of sentences with the accusative case. Nina liebt mich, meaning Nina loves me. Since I am the direct object here, I use the accusative me or mich and not the nominative I or ich. Sie schreibt ein Buch, meaning she is writing a book. Since Buch is neutral, ein remains ein in the accusative case. Der Mann kauft ein Hemd, meaning the man is buying a shirt. Since Hemd is also neutral, ein remains ein in the accusative case. Wir verkaufen den Computer, meaning we are selling the computer. Der Computer being masculine becomes den Computer in the accusative case. Julian besucht die Studenten. Julian is visiting the students. Since Studenten is the plural form here, the definite article die remains unchanged even if it is accusative. Das Kind isst einen Apfel. The child is eating an apple. Since Apfel is masculine, Ein Apfel becomes einen Apfel in the accusative case. Maria hat keinen Bruder. Maria does not have a brother. Since Bruder is masculine, kein Bruder becomes keinen Bruder. Markus zeigt die Lampe. Lampe being feminine takes die as the definite article in accusative as well. Ihr habt keine Geschwister. You all do not have siblings. Geschwister being plural takes keine even in the accusative case. Sie korrigiert ihn. She is correcting him. In the accusative case, he becomes him. So in German, becomes ihn. Liebt sie. This sentence can mean one of the following depending on the context of the conversation. He loves her or he loves them. In either case, sie remains sie in the accusative case. Now, like everywhere else, there are exceptions here as well. One has to use the nominative case when the verb is linked directly to the subject of the sentence itself. The best example for this exception is the verb sein, which means to be. Ist ein Junge. He is a boy. Here, even if ein Junge feels like it is in the position of a direct object, it is actually describing the subject of the sentence itself, and thus uses the nominative case. In simple words, in the sentence he is a boy is actually describing the subject he itself. Ein Junge in this case is actually the subject itself, right? It is not an object. Similarly, it is Sie sind der Lehrer and not Sie sind den Lehrer. Again, since the verb is sein and the word linked to the verb is a description of the subject itself, we use the nominative case. This kind of exception is also applicable for some other verbs with similar context, but don't worry about them for now. Just know that whenever the verb used is sein, we use the nominative case, and the reason is because the word following sein would actually describe the subject of the sentence and not an object. There is one more exception. From what we already saw, only pronouns and articles change in the accusative case. The nouns that follow these pronouns and articles remained unchanged. For example, der Apfel becomes den Apfel in the accusative case, where the article der becomes den, but the noun Apfel remains the same. For some nouns, however, this is not the case, and this is what this exception tells us. For some masculine nouns, one has to add n or en to the end of the original noun when used in the accusative case. The first and main type of masculine nouns to which this exception applies are masculine nouns ending with the English letter E. For example, der Junge. Junge is a word ending with the letter E, and it is also a masculine noun. So in the accusative case, Junge becomes Jungen, since we add the letter N to Junge. So in the sentence, it would look something like this. Ist ein Junge, sie liebt einen Jungen. Similarly for Kollege and Name, since both are masculine nouns and they both end with the letter E, we add an N at the end of them in the accusative case. So, Sie sind der Kollege, ich treffe den Kollegen, hat einen Namen, and so on. If you have not already noticed, the sentences on the left, ist ein Junge and Sie sind der Kollege, use the nominative case. Pause the video here and think about why I use the nominative case for ein Junge and der Kollege. If you think it is because the verb that is being used in those two sentences is sein, you are absolutely right. They are examples of the previous exception we discussed. I hope you got that one right. Now, masculine nouns ending with the letter E are not the only type of masculine nouns that fall under this exception. It also applies to many masculine professions ending with the letter T. Note that it applies to many of the masculine professions ending with T, but not all of them. An example is der Student. Ich bin Student. Ich sehe den Studenten. In this case, since the last letter of the word is not E, we add en instead of just n. There are some more masculine nouns that don't fall under the first or the second category, but still use this exception. We have not covered such a noun as of now. The concept of adding an n or en to these nouns is called n-declension, and all the nouns that use this n-declension are called weak nouns. The weak nouns that we have already covered in our vocabulary are Junge, Kollege, Name, Vorname, Familienname, and Student. In the vocabulary of our future lessons, weak nouns will be denoted by a W next to them. As soon as you see a W next to a masculine noun, it is certain that it uses the n-declension and that it is a weak noun. Another thing to note here is that all weak nouns use the same n-declension for all their plural forms as well. Plural forms of Junge, Kollege, Name, Vorname, Familienname, and Student are also Jungen, Kollegen, Namen, Vornamen, Familiennamen, and Studenten. We also know that plural forms and the associated articles remain the same in both the nominative and the accusative case. So if the sentence were Ich sehe die Studenten, it would mean I see the students. But here it says Ich sehe den Studenten, which means I see the student. So it is the article that the noun follows that helps us decide whether the accusative case used in a sentence takes the singular form or the plural form. Die or no article at all would mean that it is plural, and den or einen means that it is singular. Note that all feminine and neutral nouns remain unchanged in the accusative case. This exception is only applicable for masculine nouns. And that's all for this lesson. Don't forget to give the test in the description of this video. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I'll see you in the next class. Tschüss.